is AF3Z. Chuck, NA3CW. Are you around, AF3Z? Nothing heard. Well, I will get started here with the workbench for tonight. And if Chuck comes, we'll change or do whatever. This is AF3Z. My name is Jim, and I am located outside of Mount Joy, Pennsylvania. I'm shuffling papers, looking for the workbench preamble. Hold on 1 second.
Hey, just picking it up. You're sounding good. 83.
Okay. Operate by what is called, I call the one pile system. Everything is in one pile, and so you know where to look for it, but then you got to dig to find it. Welcome to the 985 workbench. As I said, I'm Jim, Alpha Foxtrot 3 Zulu AF3Z. And at the moment at least, I will be tonight's host for the workbench. I am located outside of Mount Joy, and we meet here on the 146.985 repeater every Monday evening at 8 p.m. This is the W3GMS Parksburg repeater. The PL tone for getting into the repeater is 100 Hertz. And if you use tone squelch on receive, the repeater puts out a squelch tone of 94.8. So PL is 100, squelch tone is 94.8 Hertz. If you're new to the repeater or new to the workbench, you are certainly welcome to join in. We encourage you to check in. Encourage you also to look at the repeater website. The URL is www.W3GMSrepeater.com. www.W3GMSrepeater.com. Lots of information, articles, pictures, repeater history, etiquette, and all kinds of good stuff, so check that out. Please be aware that sometimes we have intermod interference here on the repeater, and usually one of us will mention it if you're not familiar with it when it comes on. But in those cases, it's good to run full power, whatever you've got there, to try to get over the interference. Also, another way to deal with it is to check in through Echolink or All-Star. In that way, we'll be able to hear you, even if the intermod cancels you out. For me out here, I'm like 30-some miles away from the repeater. I can't usually get in over the intermod, so I go to Echolink. One thing to note is to use Echolink and All-Star, you need to be kind of registered with the repeater. We just try to limit its use so it's not getting interfered with and tied up with repeaters all around the world. So you need to register and get on the official list for the 985 repeater. Look at the website, again, W3GMSrepeater.com, and you will find there, right on the front page, link and information about how to sign up to use Echolink and All-Star on the repeater. Something else good to know is when the intermod is present, before you start a transmission, it's good to give a short call. If you have any question at all, just say something like, "Am I getting in okay?" And then I'll come back and let you know. And if I didn't hear you, we'll probably figure that out too. But anyway, check first, and then you can go ahead and give your longer comments once you're sure you're going to be getting in. On the workbench, we focus on answering general questions of radio theory and also operation. So we invite each station at the beginning of the Workbench here. We go around roundtable format. Comment briefly on your amateur radio activity in the past week. And when checking in, please do indicate if you have a question for the Workbench tonight. If you don't have a question, still check in for sure. But after all stations have checked in, we'll first do the thing of going around to share what we've done in the past week. And so it's good to write down the call of the station that checks in right after you, at least. A lot of us just jot down all the stations and we sort of have an idea what's going on. But at least the station who checks in right after you, because when you're done your comments in that opening section, you can just pass it along straight to that other station. All right, after all of us have shared about our week in amateur radio, then we will go to operating as a directed net where I will act as net control. And I'll call on a station that indicated that they have a question. During the roll call they indicated that. And then they can state their question, and I will then direct our discussion as far as responding to and answering that question. So during this time, please wait to be recognized by net control by me before beginning a transmission. And all this helps us to handle the questions efficiently and keep the net running smoothly. Sometimes it's helpful. Somebody has a couple questions, maybe to get more information or whatever, to find out really what the situation is. It's helpful for the two stations to go back and forth without passing it to me in the middle. But once you've passed that little bit of traffic there, and that's a good thing to do, but then just pass it back to me and I will keep it moving from there. One thing to remember is don't be too quick to talk right after I encourage people to check in. But what I mean by that is pause a couple seconds before you hit the press to talk switch. It's good repeater etiquette because it leaves a little room for somebody who wants or needs to get in to break into the conversation. And with Echolink and All-Star, there are extra delays involved there on the internet, and so it's even more helpful to them for us to leave some good pauses. So if they need to or want to check in, they can get in there. And when you do click the press to talk switch on your mic, then wait a second while it's pushed before starting to talk. If you don't, we may miss the first part of what you say because it takes a moment for the repeater to process your PL tone and then get you going. And also, the repeater has a 3-minute timer. If you talk for more than 3 minutes without letting up on your mic button, the repeater completely shuts down. You can't get in anymore, we don't hear you, and also nobody else can get in. So every 2 to 3 minutes, release the mic button just for a moment, and then you can continue talking. That resets the timer. Now, before we begin, I want to thank all the people who serve as Workbench hosts. Those are the people that help this happen. And if you may be interested in trying hosting the Workbench, you can contact myself, Jim, AF3Z, or any of us here, and we'll get you started. We have and you can also look on the website under the information for hosts, but you can see what the script we use is for getting things started. And last, be sure to join us Thursday evening for the roundtable. The roundtable at 8 p.m. on Thursday. And I believe this week Joe, W3GMS, will be hosting. The reminder email came out yesterday, and it was an accident. My finger twitched, and one little twitch clicked, and it went off. So anyway, I think it is Joe this Thursday night. So we'll start the check-in process, and remember, as you're checking in, if you do have a question for the group, please just mention. All you have to do is say, yes, you have a question, or no, I don't. Start with the Echolink and All-Star stations, digital stations, and I'll leave long pauses so you can have time to get in. So any digital stations wishing to check in to the Workbench tonight, please call now. This is Jim, AF3Z.
Whiskey 8, Charlie Romeo Whiskey, CR, no question.
Kilo Delta 3, Echo Echo. John, no questions.
Whiskey 3, Juliet Alpha Mike, W3GMS. Jeff, no questions.
Okay, very good. So we have W8CRW, then KD3EE, and then W3JAM. Any other digital stations wishing to check into the workbench tonight, please call now. Alright, continuing on, we'll let RF stations in now as well as digital stations. So all others still wishing to check in to the workbench, please call now.
Whiskey Alpha 3, Victor Echo Echo, WA3VEE. B3ZIM.
Kilo Charlie 3, Yankee Sierra Mike, Steve, no questions.
WA3 King Fox Tango, WA3 KFT, John.
3, Mike Foxtrot Bravo, no question. KC3OOK, no question.
KC3 SQI, no questions.
KD3AIS, no questions.
KD3 APR, no question.
Alright, let me break in here, and thank you all very much. I have we had W8CRW and KD3EE and W3JAM. Now we have added W83VEE, KB3ZIM, KC3YSM, WA3KFT, W3MFB, KC3OOK, KC3SQI, KD3AIS, and KD3APR. Any other stations wishing to check in to the workbench, please call now.
Alpha 3, Lima Hotel.
Hey, very good. There's a real weak station in there at the end. Something Lima Hotel. No, good evening, Leon. Good to hear you. So after Paxton, I believe it is, KD3APR, we added Leon AA3LH. All right, so we will go to the roundtable part of this. We'll pass the mic along in the order you guys have checked in. And just give a brief. We have so many questions tonight, keep it brief. Just kidding. But to give a brief summary of what you did in ham radio this week. So, over to you, CR, and if somebody's not sure who's after you, just turn it back to me and we'll get it moving. So, W8CRW, AF3Z.
Very good, Jim. Thanks for taking the net. And I too use the one pile method. I generally go through that one pile once a month and sort things out. But yeah, one pile. And this week in ham radio, not a whole lot unusual, regular 985 activities and a couple other nets. And that's about it. So let's go to John, KD3 EE, W8CRW.
Thanks, CR. This is KD3EE, John in Landisville. Over the past week, it's been a little light. I did start noticing, watching FT8 stuff, I've got the waterfall on my radio, so I've been seeing the alternate FT8 streams starting up, which means de-expeditions and contests. They move off of the normal frequencies so that they don't just bury everybody else. So that's exciting to see. It's always fun. I'm seeing people chasing Palestine and St. Martin. Though I only saw St. Martin myself. I didn't see Palestine yet, but I've seen lots of people trying. I'm getting tempted recently to replace my old cheap coax that's going to the antenna that's supposed to get my RF out to the repeater. I got a 50 watts and home-built Yagi and a hill in the way. And I almost get there. I think in the winter I'll be better when there's not leaves, but I'm not sure. I think maybe instead of, maybe the coax is the next thing to try. I could have a question if we need one around that stuff. I will pass off to Jeff, W3GMS. This is KD3EE.
Okay, very good, John. KD3 EE from Whiskey 3 Juliet Alpha Mike. Jeff here in northern Chester County. And a light week, but did get into a couple of nets. A simplex net on Saturday night, of course, that I always like to check into. And also Central PA Skywarn on Wednesday night. Was able to get in on that net this week. So there you go. And as far as projects, I've been cleaning up here. I think some know I've decommissioned the shack in the house and have been selling various pieces of equipment and things that hadn't been using a lot, and continue to go through things. My ETH-Kit SB102 is up on the workbench, trying to get that back into operation. It has a few minor issues, trying to get those cleaned up. Decide if I'm going to keep or sell, and have an amplifier I may sell, and some other odds and ends. I'm also working a little bit on the little tower I'm going to put up on the roof, bracketed to the chimney, and I might put another X510 on that. I did get one. I did get another X510, but not sure if I'm going to use it or not, or put up a Comet CX333, which I also have, which would give me 220. Vertical for FM work. Also working on a 220 Yagi, a 16-element directive systems Yagi that I'm rebuilding the driven element and T-match on that. Kind of bringing that up to the modern version of the antenna. It's a somewhat older version and used some kind of rod and number 12 wire for the T-match that you had to literally solder the shorting bars to. So trying to bring that up to a little bit more current design. And I'll deploy that for probably 222 sideband CW work. Anyway, that's the story from northern Chester County. Over to Mr. Ron, WA3VENNE, W3JAM.
Jeff, thank you so much. W3JAM and the group WA3VEE. Jim, not sure if Chuck had a phone call or not. That sometimes that's usually, if I remember historically, that's what creeps in there. So don't have any emails from him. So if he does show up, of course, I'm sure he'll be quite welcome, no doubt about it. All very good, and thanks, by the way, for picking it up. I was just getting ready to. I looked at the time, and I said, oh, my goodness, yes, and then I heard you come on. So, yeah, not a problem at all. And, yeah, we always say in the script that we're thankful for the other hosts. Well, I'm thankful, too, and you're very welcome. You certainly know I enjoy it, no doubt about it. Okay, very good. Over here, real quick, not much going on. I am getting ready for the, on Friday, I will not be at the breakfast, but I will be up in Kutztown at the Antique Radio show up there. Mostly broadcast stuff, but there are some hams there. And so I'm checking out some things like some old scopes and stuff like that. And whatever doesn't move there, I will bring to the next topic, and that is the Red Rose Repeater Association Hamfest on October 4th at the Radio Shack / Fire Hall on, I guess it's Main Street in New Holland. So that's always a nice, cozy hamfest. Smaller, of course, but it's always nice to see some friends out there. Great bunch of people out in that group, as well as the ones up in Pottstown and ones in Delaware. So still checking out some equipment. Getting a pretty good pile together. So I'm hoping to offload everything on Friday. I have some pieces also from Scott, W3KZG, and a piece from N2HM, one of our main CW ops at Winterfield Day, Bob Wick, who lives down in Manahawkin, New Jersey. So with that, let me see. Let me pass it over to Bob, KB3ZIM in the group WA3VEE.
GMS for a quick comment.
Good evening, everyone. On the workbench tonight, this is KB3ZIM. Bob calling out of East Fallowfield Township. And good to hear everybody in there this evening. Actually, I have no questions. I didn't say that when I checked in, so I don't have any questions this evening. Although if anybody wants to share any info about what, if anything, they use for antennas to get on 160 meters, I would appreciate your comments. Yeah, that opens a whole can of worms, but I've been meaning to put something up in the air this time of year every year for I don't know how many years, but by golly, I think I'm going to get it done this time. So probably a inverted L or whatever, but anyway, we'll see what we can accommodate at my QTH here. Anyway, what I did in ham radio this past week is something that I had total enjoyment doing, and I did it last night, and I did it for several hours yesterday evening. Briefly, I'll try to explain this. I have an Icom IC7100, and for those of you who are familiar with that, you'll know what that is. If you're not, it's a transceiver that has a control module, a remote control head, if you will. You can hold it in the palm of your hand, and it is connected by a Ethernet cable that is supplied, maybe, 10 feet long, supplied with it, and then the actual heavy lifting, the RF deck and the power amp and all the guts, if you will, are in a separate case, and that's how it works. So you can put that anywhere, attach the antenna and everything to it, and then use the control head, if you will, on the other end of an Ethernet cable. Now, Icom doesn't recommend anything longer than the cable they supply, which is, I said, it's about, I don't think it's a 10-meter cable. I think it's shorter than that. But anyway, a lot of people put much longer cables on it. I took it upon myself. I did this a year or so ago. I bought a 75-foot-long Cat 8 cable, Category 8 Ethernet cable, which is shielded in its entire length and everything. Ethernet cables usually are not. But I got a 75-foot length, and I have it. The main unit of the transceiver upstairs at my second floor shack, and I feed it into my expert amp, 1.3 kilowatt expert amp, through one of the inputs on that. But then I take the coax, the RF output. But then I take that 75-foot length of Ethernet cable, toss it out the window down onto the ground, and I string it over to my deck underneath my gazebo. and simply with the control head and that single Ethernet cable plugged in, I can operate, and the amp is, I rigged the interface cables for the AFC and the everything, so it follows the transceiver, whatever frequency it is and all that stuff. But anyway, I can operate over a kilowatt if I want. I don't. I was only on low power last night. But I can sit there with the control head and a hand mic in my hand, and the only thing connecting me to all that stuff is the 75-foot Ethernet cable going upstairs through the office window into my shack. And man, I had a blast last night. I was 17 meters, 20 meters. There were a whole bunch of parks on the air stations. I don't know how long I sat out there, 2 hours or so, maybe a little longer. I just had a blast doing it, and that's why I came up with that whole scheme of wiring that all together, so I could, when the weather's nice in the summer and spring and fall, just simply sit on the deck, enjoy a brew or a soda pop or whatever, something to eat under the gazebo or whatever. Anyway, so I had a blast. I was sort of operating in the field, but I not in the field per se, because I was on my own deck under my gazebo. But it was really great. I really enjoyed doing it. I got to tell you, I got a big kick out of it, which is exactly what I had intended to do with that setup in the first place. So that's what I did in ham radio. It was several hours last night, but it was a total blast. So anyway, and I'm scratching my head about what I'm going to do to get wires in the air for 160 meters during the fall and winter. Just to say I worked it. I don't think I'll do it regularly, but anyway, there you go. So with that, I've already taken up too darn much time, and I'll send it over to my neighbor Steve, who's just an arm's length away, practically stone's throw away. So over to KC3YSM from KB3ZIM.
3GMS for a very quick comment.
Hey, Joe.
Chuck is sailing down at Long Beach Island, so he probably didn't get the word or whatever that he had the net tonight. I'm sure he would have contacted you, Jim, and Phil, but that's where he is. He's gallantly sailing in 17-mile-per-hour winds. I talked to him this afternoon on the cell phone, and he's having a blast. So that's where Mr. Chuck is tonight. 73 W3GMS.
Okay, Joe, very good. 2 hams on a boat, and they're not checking in. I don't know. Yeah, I hadn't heard back from him when I sent out the reminder email, so I had a feeling there might be something going on. So I was sort of primed ahead of time. Very good. Thank you, Joe. So, Steve, over to you. KC3YSMAF3Z.
Oh, all right, Jim, thanks. AF3Z, and also Bob, thank you. And Chuck, I hope you're out enjoying your sailing. This is KC3YSM, Steve here in Downingtown. Yes, Bob, as the crow flies, we're right around the corner here. But I was gone most of last week out of town, up in Plymouth, Massachusetts, to see my sister and family. So that was a good time. So not a lot of air time, but I have started a little project for a little Go box. I picked up one of those Apache 4800s, and I'd like to be able to throw the 991 in, and or a smaller radio connected to the battery, and in pretty good shape. I cut a piece of 3/8 ply and put a couple handles on it. I can put it in the box, lift it out. I also put a piece of 1/4-inch ply on the top as like a kind of like a workbench, if you will, so I can lift the radio and the battery out, plop it on top of there. All I've got to do is connect it to whatever I need, and I'm good to go. So that's a fun little project that I've been working on, and that's about it. Going to toss it over to you, John, WA3KFT. This is KC3YSM.
W3YSM and the group WA3KFT. Well, we've been participating in the various nets, 6 meters, sideband, and Antique Wireless Association on Sundays. So we've been busy doing that. And various 2-meter FM nets and so forth. I'm usually on in the morning on the 147-195 machine out of Newtown Square. The net runs from about 8:30 to 9:30, and it's been pretty good lately. Check-ins up to around 15 or 20 every day, so a lot of different voices. Also manicuring my rhubarb. Man, I wound up with 3 batches of it the other day after I cooked it down. So we're storing that. Over to you, Mike. W3MFB, WA3KFT.
W3MFB, howdy. Let's see here. Over the weekend, it looks like there was a VHF contest, and it just so happened on the 991 I was hitting the band button for 2 meter, and it went right over to, I think it was 144.205 or something like that, and there was somebody there calling CQ. So I know they're probably using a beam, and I've talked to this guy before. He's 88 miles in northeast of me in New Jersey. Seems like with the VHF contest, you always get the same folks. But anyway, so I was able to work them, even though I was, wrong polarization and all that jazz. But had a good signal on his end. I actually heard him better this time around than I did the last time around when the antenna was lower, so interesting. And then just hanging out, working a few POTAs and special events. 66 special event stations were up on the air on 15 and 17 and 20 meters, so I worked 3 of them that I did here. Really wasn't hunting them, but it just happened to hear them, so that was fun. And then checked into a net on 80 meters, good group of folks, just chit-chatting, and we were talking about honeybees and grape juice making and wine making, and it was a good conversation, so I hung out there for a little bit on Saturday evening. So, but that's about it, really. So I pass it over to Bill, KC3OOK, W3MFB.
W3MFB, KC3OOK. Thanks, Mike. And Jim, thanks for taking the chair tonight. I'll keep it brief. Most of my activities have been either on 985 or on the Simplex net, or like Jeff, the Skyward net. Worked at Joe's last week. Going to work out a schedule for this week, see what we can get done this week as well, because it's coming down to the wire. We're getting close. And I've been working in the shop during the day on the table for the Heathkit gear. And I just got another side rail clamped and glued while the net was going on tonight. I'll get one more done after this. So with that, I'll turn it over to Wayne, KC3SQI, KC3OOK.
Thank you, Bill. KC3OOK. This is KC3SQI. And thanks, Jim, for picking up the net. I was about ready to step in there as well. So, not much going on right now with ham radio. I'm just in the process of moving all of my antennas over to the new mast, and so for right now, the only one that's operational is the 2-meter antenna, And that's the last thing that's coming down and the first thing that's going up when I get the new mast ready to go. So with that, I'll turn it over to Tim, KD3AIS. This is KC3SQI.
KC3SQI, thank you, Wayne. This is KD3AIS, Tim in Malvern. I don't have very much to report in ham radio this week other than the slow accumulation of equipment to put a ham radio in my new-to-me truck. So far, I have the fender mount, and that's it. So I will turn it over to Paxton KD3APR. This is KD3AIS.
KD3AIS, thank you. This is KD3APR. Just a question for net control. Am I getting in okay? Currently on an HT.
Paxton, don't move. Stay on that channel. No, you're coming in quite well. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I'll be sure not to move. We were getting some intermod earlier, so I just want to make sure that my handheld, it doesn't. Yeah, it's a hard battle for it. But yeah, in terms of ham radio activity for the week, not all too much. The back to school season, it's been kind of consuming my life, but carved out the time to hop on the net tonight. Just finishing up my geometry homework as it is. Just try and get in on as much as 985 and the other Delaware net activity as I can. So a lot of 2 meter, 70 centimeter stuff. And yeah, not too much else for me. So I'm going to pass it on to AA3LH. This is KD3APR.
Thank you, Paxton. I wonder if this squeaky, weak station is actually making it in, or does it need another 100 watts and a power mic and a long periodic beam pointing right at the repeater? I just kind of wonder. Well, I know, it's making it. I can tell I'm feeling better today than I felt the last time. At least I'm under the bus. I got in and out before I got run over like I did Thursday night when I had to grab the bus axle and hang on and go for a ride on a creeper down to the stop sign there and then crawl out and under real quick, because I was slower last Thursday. Today I made sure I got under there and got the brakes adjusted, the exhaust pipe tightened down, and making sure that the airbag bolts are tight and the brakes are looking good. Brake lining is at 75% in the rear, and the one and the other is at 70% in the back. So we are good to go, Jimmy. You put the fuel down then. But what I did this morning about 5 o'clock at 80 meters, I got out and got on the radio 5:30. Then I was all out of water for about an hour and a half. It was dead. The band was long, and I mean, usually I listen to the Tennessee net. That's fun to do. But boy, there was no Tennessee net this morning. It was long, and couldn't hear the guys I normally hang out with. But that was what I did basically all week. I didn't really have much of amateur radio activity. Due to the fact that I did not feel well and out of shape due to the fact that I had a hospital experience. And now that experience is behind me, we know what is wrong, and was planning on seeing you guys on Friday, talking to you guys on Thursday and seeing you guys on Friday. So I guess I am the last guy. I turn his weak radio back to AM3Z if he can hear me, AA3LH.
Can anybody give me a relay on that weak station? All right, thank you, Leon. AF3Z here. Let's take a quick check here. Is there anyone else out there who would like to check into the 985 Workbench this evening? Call now. This is Jim, AF3Z. All right, nothing heard there. Very good. Thank you all for your comments. My comments are very short. I did very little. Some CW, my normal stuff, but nothing unusual or exciting or whatever. So, very good. Again, thanks everybody for your participation and your comments. So I'm shuffling papers once again. So now we will turn to the time for questions and answers. And everybody's encouraged to make comments, observations, share experiences you've had. Please don't assume that your level of experience and knowledge isn't enough. We can all share and learn from each other and contribute to the discussions. So feel free to pick up the mic and have some fun. Now I have 1.5, or is it 1.35? I'm not sure. Questions. John had one. If we need one, and we'll take it, John. And also Bob, interested in information on 160-meter antennas that people are using. So we will do those too. Is there anyone else that has come up with a question since we got started? AF3Z.
W8CRW. I have no question, but I have an announcement.
All right, CR, would you like to make that announcement now? You are certainly welcome to.
Very good, Jim. I should have mentioned it during This Week in Ham Radio, but I think you guys know Mr. Mike, W1RC. And Mr. Mike is acquiring some Wires X equipment, and he was looking for somebody down here to work with him, and I volunteered to do that. So if anybody else is interested in doing Wires X again, I know some people did that years ago, but maybe it's going for a return. So let me know, and I'll pass it on to Mr. Mike, W1RC. Back to net, W8CRW.
Okay, very good, CR. Thank you for that information. All right, so we will go to John, KD3EE, and I forget if, oh yeah, you were talking, well anyway, I'll let you describe your question. I think you hinted at what it was about earlier. So John, over to you, KD3EE, AF3Z.
Can you tell me if I'm getting in, KD3EE?
You're doing very well.
RF. Maybe I don't need my question. But anyway, I've got my 50-watt mobile radio here. I've got my home-built Yagi up 30 feet on a flagpole pointing in the general direction of the repeater. And I know that the directionality works. It rejects off the back, and I can watch the signal as I turn it, so that's cool. I've been using that for a while. I've got about 75 feet of cheap coax going out there in a couple different sections. Just joined up. It's got little SMA connectors on it. So relatively lightweight. I was thinking about replacing that with some KMR 400, which is like a cheap version of LMR 400, so that I get some better VHF performance. I was wondering if anybody has any, what should I consider when testing this whole system? Because I'm on the fringe, I just need some marginal gains, and I think I'll do okay. Radio to coax to directional home-built antenna. How should I be testing this? Thanks. KD3EE.
Okay, very good, John. Anybody respond to that? How to test and check out an antenna system like that to see if you're doing what you can do or as best as you can do. Anybody want to talk to that? AF3Z.
WA3VEE.
Go ahead, Ron.
Good. And Jim, with your indulgence as net control and king of the net tonight, let me go back and forth with John here. John, do you have any test equipment?
I should have mentioned I have with the tiny SA and the little attenuators to go with it, because I did want to test the power at the other end of the cable. And I also have one of these little digital inline power power meters as well. That's good to 100 watts, so I should be able to use that as well. And NanoVNA, but I don't know what that's worth in this case. Thanks.
That's probably the one you want to start with in lieu of an antenna analyzer. First thing you want to do is make sure your antenna is matched. So that's the first thing. And what I would do is take a look at the SWR there. Once, I don't know if your antenna is tunable or not, but if it's a directional, it might have a gamma match. So usually they don't require tuning, but just may want to take a look at the SWR. And the NanoVNA should be able to do that for you. And the other part of it is, if you're looking at receive, it's a directional antenna. See if you can get somebody on, if it's a repeater, see if you can get somebody on a repeater to talk to them as you try to rotate the antenna for maximum signal. That would be the only thing that I'd recommend there for starters. Jim, back to you, AF3Z, W3GMS.
All right, very good. Thank you, Ron. Anybody else with comments for John?
KC3SQI.
Go ahead there, Wayne.
Okay, John, again, back to the NanoVNA. If you've got a 50 ohm load that will work at the end of the coax, not just right at the NanoVNA, what you'll do is calibrate at the adapter that's at the NanoVNA and get that so that you have a zero power level, and then take that attenuator, put it at the other end of the coax, and do a through, and you can actually look at how much attenuation you have in the coax that will be robbing power before it gets to the antenna. So that's the other test that you can do, and especially if you're going to be going to a different type of coax, that's the one that will tell you what it, how much you can expect to get an increase for. So that's the other thing that I would be very seriously considering doing for tests. It will also tell you if you've got any bad connectors or any other thing like that. So, okay, Jim, thank you. Back to NAP, KC3SQI.
Thank you, Wayne. That'd be interesting. You had to test your thin old coax that you got now to see how that looks. All right, anybody else with comments for John? This is AF3Z. Yeah, okay, very good. Yeah, testing the match with the antenna for SWR and checking the coax out to see how good that is. Obviously, are two key things there. Otherwise, yeah, getting on the radio and seeing how people can hear you is an obvious test. And with a repeater, you'll get a sense of, relatively how you are compared to others and all that stuff. One last check. Anybody else with comments for John? Please call now. This is AF3Z. All right, John, how did we do? And back to you.
Yes, thank you, Ron, for... Oh, first, am I making it in?
You are very well.
Ron, great ideas on checking SWR and checking the direction and stuff. Since I've had the NanoVNA for a while, that's the one thing I know how to do with that. So I did, when I built it, I tuned it. It had a little U of wire that I tuned the length of that and how close it is in its turns, and I was able to get it down to a good SWR. And then, yeah, definitely, like when you guys are talking about things, I'm out there spinning the antenna around, watching the signal meter, and seeing how many decibels I get, and so I definitely have it pointed in the right direction to maximize this. That's what I'm trying to do, is maximize. And then, thank you, Wayne, for talking about using the NanoVNA to test the loss. I didn't think of that. I was going to go right for power and then deduce what kind of loss I was seeing. But yeah, I definitely want to measure and see how much better is the new coax versus the old coax. And I can do the old coax now before buying anything, so that's cool. So I could definitely make sure that this is the weakest link there. So thank you. This is KD3EE.
Okay, John, very good. And I don't know, you had mentioned KMR 400 versus LMR 400. And I don't know what I'm talking about, but the coax that we bought a bunch, or several people did, the Berryflex cable from Davis RF, that's pretty good stuff too, and a lot cheaper than LMR 400. Very quickly, anybody have experience with the KMR 400 or know about that?
KC3SQI.
Go ahead there, Wayne.
Okay, and I'm going to thank Chuck for this one because he's the one that told me about it. If you're going to go to an LMR type cable, you probably should go with the Berryflex, because if you get the direct Berry LMR 400, the way they make it so that it doesn't so that the outside doesn't allow moisture into the coax, is they put a glue type substance in between the outside braid and the shield. And if you heat it up to be able to put the connector on, if you get a crimp type connector, it's a real mess to work with. The Berryflex, you will have to have a heat gun and heat the shield a little, or the outside shielding black shield a little bit so that you can force the pinching part of the connector underneath the outside braid. So please do think more about the Berryflex, and if you want to find it locally, ham radio outlet does carry it. So that would be my only suggestions on that. Back to Nick, KC3SQI.
All right, very good, Wayne. Thank you very much. Okay. Just one quick call. Any other comments around the antenna system and checking to maximize it and all of that stuff? Or coax AF3Z? All right, very good. Bob, if you're still around, well, just say a little, you can just revoice you're looking for information on 160-meter antennas, and then we'll see what we can find.
Sorry, yeah, I'm still here. KB3 is that I am reading the mail. I don't have anything specific to say. I posed a question like this once before, many months ago. It's one of those things like a wish list of things to do, but every year around this time, September, I think, it's coming up on 160 season, and Bob, you ought to throw something up in the air, some kind of wire or something to get on, just to have the experience of working it. I do listen to 160, but never have operated on it, so I have some schemes in my head. I have some ideas. I have, a little bit of flexibility in terms of space, in terms of outdoor space and tall trees and what have you. But, everyone knows, if you know anything about it, it's a challenge because, you need length and you need height and what have you. But I'm going to try a few things. More than likely, it's going to be an inverted L, which I can easily do, but the thing is the counterpoise leg, the radials or the ground or whatever is the challenge, because where I can get very high vertical run before I go horizontal is anywhere near where I have a usable ground, unless I want to go 150 feet behind my house and drive a ground rod in and then do the radials and stuff, So I have a couple of different schemes I'm going to try. But if anybody says, hey, I do this, I know Scott, Scott, K3ZG, is it, Scott? The last time I was talking to him at the breakfast, he said he's put wire up through trees, insulated wire, 14-gauge insulated wire, and didn't sweat about going through tree limbs and branches and everything. And he said he worked 160 with it. So, I don't know. I can put some fire in the wire, as Joe says. Put kilowattage into it if I want. And anyway, so if anybody says, hey, I do this or I did that, like Scott did to me, said to me once, and I said, really? You weren't worried about, avoiding tree limbs and everything? And if I recall him correctly, he said, nope, I just shot it through all these notches in trees and all that stuff, and it worked. How well it worked, I don't know, but if I could make a few QSOs, I'd consider it a success. So if anybody has anything to offer in that regard, I'm all ears. This is KB3's that I am.
All right, Bob, yeah, and I wouldn't worry too much about the trees either, especially with insulated wire. All right, so who would like to speak to the 160-meter antenna question? AF3Z.
I guess I better come on since I operate a lot of 160. Hi, Jim, W3GMS.
Read my mind. I was just about to think, oh, Joe could speak to this one. Go ahead, Joe. Thanks.
We can talk offline about some of the details, and I remember past conversations we've had. And what I use is a 240-foot piece of horizontal wire, up 60 feet at the apex in the form of an inverted V fed with the open wire line. But I know you can't do that. So I would suggest, if you can, to help your ground radial system, you use 3/8 of a wavelength. Because 3/8 of a wavelength is not, you don't have to be as intensive with the ground radials, because a quarter wave, you have a lot of ground current, so you got to have a lot of radials to manage that efficiency. When you get up to 3/8 wave, it starts switching from a current fed to somewhat of a voltage fed antenna. You still do need some radials, but not as extensive, and it'll be a lot more efficient. The people that I work on 160 meter with 3/8 wavelength antennas do very, very well. So now the topology, you can either use just an EdFed going out 3/8 of a wave, or you can do an inverted L. I ran an inverted L years and years ago, and I worked 78 countries on 160 meters on CW with 40 watts. So they can be a very effective DX antenna due to the vertical component of the inverted L, and because you get a lot of low angle takeoff. So that's the deal. I think that's your best thing. The disadvantage of an antenna like that, it's not a truly balanced antenna, so it tends to be a little bit noisier on receive than like a dipole or something like that that's truly balanced. But the noise level is the noise level, and I think in your situation that would be the best way to go. You can trim the antenna so you do not need any matching at the with 3/8 wave you're going to need some matching. A quarter wave you don't need it, but you're going to need some matching at the where the feed point of the antenna is and where it connects to your coax. So you have to have a little bit of inductance, a little bit of capacitance there in the form of an antenna tuner or whatever. That's one of the things that makes it, I don't want to say more cumbersome, but it's something that you need to do, because 3/8 of a wavelength piece of wire does not look close to 50 ohms, so that's where you have to have a matching device. For antennas like that, I like to use auto tuners. There's plenty of auto tuners outside remote tuners, and that would make it very, very easy to do something like that. So that's my first order suggestion, and we can talk a lot more about it outside of the workbench here. Jim, I'm going to turn it back to geez, I forgot his name, Bob ZIM, and see if that helps a little bit. Go ahead.
Okay, Joe, KB3ZIM here. Yeah, thanks for your input. For some reason, I don't remember you ever saying, to me anyway, that you worked 160. And you say you work it a lot. So very good. Very good. Yeah, it's just a thing in the back of my mind and a list of things I'd like to try someday. Anyway, I said this season I think I'm going to get off my duff and do it. My sentiments were just as you kind of confirmed. Inverted L especially. Inverted L would be the easiest thing for me to do, and I could do it relatively quickly, easily. I mean, not that I want easy without effort, but the inverted L, if I understand it correctly, an inverted L, the thing you want to try to get the most out of is, well, I think you might have mentioned inverted V, but an inverted L, the thing that, if I understand it correctly, the maximize it is to have the vertical component be as absolutely tall as possible. And an inverted L with that I can do the easiest, actually off the peak of the roof of my house and then go horizontal, that would give me the easiest way to put a radial field or 2 or 3 or whatever down. Would actually be easiest, but it wouldn't be near as tall a vertical component as if I got it back to the big trees behind my house. I could double that length, and you've been here before, so you know the topography here. So anyway, well, I'm going to play with it, and I have a pretty good antenna analyzer and everything, so I can certainly mess with a lot of different schemes before I put any fire in the wire, as you put it. One thing that did cross my mind just the other day. Previous owners of this house had a invisible fence for keeping their dog within the parameters of the property. Well, that is, of course, is I don't know if you're aware of this, that is a buried copper wire, bare copper wire that surrounds the entire property. Boy, that has got to be super long. I mean, hundreds of feet long. And I'm thinking, gee, and there's a ground rod where on the one end of it, and the other end was fed by the transmitter for the dog collar. So I'm thinking, I wonder if I could cheat and hook into that. So I may even give that a try as well. So, okay, hardly critical. Thank you for the input there. Jim, I'll turn it back to you. If Joe wants to jump in with further comments, that'll be cool too. KB3ZIM.
One quick comment, Jim.
Joe?
Forget about the ground rod. A ground rod does nothing for RF grounds. It's a good safety ground. It's a good lightning ground, but it does nothing for RF. You used to work in broadcasting. If you've ever been out to an AM radio station, an array there, they have a big ring around the base of the vertical, and they have radials. A minimum the FCC requires in most installations is 120 radials to give a certain efficiency on the vertical antenna, and that those radials just connect to the sheath of the coax, or in case of a broadcast station, a hard line coming up. So forget the ground rod. That's not going to do anything for you. No RF ground, safety ground, lightning ground, yeah, but not an RF ground. And that would be an excellent thing to tie in. Just tie in as much stuff as you can as a counterpoise, and go with it. For DXing, depending on the angle of radiation that you're looking for, the higher you can get the vertical component, the better. And then you bend the wire over, and it looks like a kind of a capacitive top hat, and you get extra loading with that, and so forth and so on. But I think that would be the best. But you got to, all antennas are a compromise, and you have to weigh out the things for your particular situation. And you can try something and do it at the house, and then you can do it down in the woods. I would think you would have a lower noise level by having it down in the woods as compared to having the vertical component very, very close to the house. I think that would be your noise level would be significantly higher because of all the digital stuff you have in your house. So anyway, have fun. 160 is my favorite band. I've been on 160 since 1967. It was my first year on 160. It's truly a wonderful winter band. Okay, thanks, Jim. And hopefully I added a little bit to the conversation as far as inverted L antennas on 160 meters. AF3Z, W3GMS, clear, and just going back to the listening mode.
C3NZT comment.
Thank you, Joe, and good evening, Harvey. Yes, go ahead.
Jim, and good evening, all. Hi, Bob. One thing I wanted to throw out there, I heard you have a 7100, and it won't work with a kilowatt. But one thing that's super easy that I wanted to throw out there is Icom makes an AH4 tuner. It's an auto coupler, so it's not like a remote antenna tuner. It is an antenna tuner that's fed at the base of the antenna, and they're very inexpensive in the used market. I got mine used once with original box. I think I paid $150, but it will literally tune anything. And I think the manual, you can look it up on the internet, but I believe the manual says anything from 70 feet to like 400 or 500 feet will work well on 160 meters. And I installed one at my property. I buried the coax. It's probably about 40 feet from my house, and it has a small radial field under the grass. And I ran a 80-foot wire that was probably only averaging about 8 feet. 8 feet. 8 feet above the ground across my property, and it tuned it up just fine and was able to make contacts. I think it's limited to about 100 or 150 watts, something like that. But with the 7100, it should run it, and it is automatic. So the second you key up, it finds the right tune on its own.
And if you wanted to go inverted L, that might be something that would be super cheap and easy to use. And the benefit is, because it's an automatic tuner that works with your radio, it would just be a whole separate antenna for you. So any band you wanted to, it will tune it right up. So I used mine originally with a 25-foot long piece of vertical wire, and that worked 80 through 6. And then once in a while, there's a contest that Phil CIB likes to work. I forget the name of it, but he mentions it usually in conversation when it's coming up that he likes to work. And yeah, when you throw an 80-foot, for me at least, when I threw an 80-foot piece of wire on it in a straight line, just draped over some tree branches down low, very, very low, like I said, 8 feet, it tuned it up just fine. So as far as cheap and easy goes, that might be something worth exploring. Food for thought, KC3NZT, back to you, Jim.
All right, thank you, Harvey. Very good. Anybody else with comments on the 160 antenna before we close up shop here?
KC3SQI.
Go ahead, Wayne.
Yeah, on the buried dog fence, the invisible dog fence, you will need to be able to hopefully find the wires in the house or whatever that were driving that, and then do an impedance on it, make sure that it's not grounding in multiple places. So they do, unless it was put in professionally or the people knew something about RF, they usually do not have thick enough shielding on the wires or large enough diameter to be able to keep it from breaking the wire with expansion and contraction while it's in the ground in summer and winter. So that's another one that you need to check if you're going to use that as part of your grounding system. KC3SQI, back to net.
All right, thank you, Wayne. All right, Bob, any additional response? Not necessary, but anything else you want to say? AF3Z.
AF3Z in the group, KB3ZIM. No, just a couple of comments there. The dog wires Wayne just mentioned. Yeah, I'm going to check all that out. I just happen to know they are. It is in the ground, and yes, I know it because I see where they were terminated, where the transmitting, the injector, signal injector, and everything was. They're very accessible, and there is a ground rod there too, which leads me over to Joe's comment. Yeah, understood about the ground rod meaning nothing for RF, but I was thinking of it more, at least the one I can access from the house is tie point where I can, fan some radios out from there. That's what I was thinking about that. And I believe it was Harvey talking about the AH4. Yes, I'm very familiar with that, and I'm always keeping my eye out for one of them. It won't take a kilowatt. I think it's limited to well below 200 watts, something like 150 or something. But I am familiar with it. Yeah, it will auto interface with most Icom rigs, all Icom rigs, I guess, that 4-conductor control connection there. And I've been looking for one of those too, and I do understand they really work well. But I don't think they're made anymore. They may have supplanted it with a different model, but I don't think those are like commercially available new anymore. So I've been keeping my eye out for that. And yeah, because I'm pretty sure it would do the job. Anyway, okay, gentlemen, nothing more need be said. Just was throwing that out there for the heck of it. So I'll turn it back to you, Jim, and sounds like you're ready to wrap it up. KB3 is that I am.
Okay, thank you, Bob. And be sure to report back. We'll be curious to hear what you do and how it works. or how it doesn't work, as the case may be. All right. Before we do wrap it up here, anybody else want to check in who's been listening, or just any other comments for the group, AF3Z?
W1RC, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mike, W1RC. Any comments for the group? Good to hear you. Have you been listening a while?
No, I just turned on the radio trying to figure out my daughter's work benefit plan, the health plan. What a mess. I don't know how anybody figures these things out. It's terrible. It's just absolutely terrible trying to figure it out. And she's got to sign up by tomorrow. Give her 21 days to sign up from her first work date, and we put it off, and here we are. So, no, I've been concentrating. My wife and I and my daughter have been trying to figure that out, so we kind of didn't check in earlier. So back to net, W1RC.
Okay, Mr. Mike, good luck with that stuff. There's a lot of legal gobbledygook that I'm not good at. So good luck with that. And thanks for checking in with us. Anybody else want to check in, or any other comments for the group before we close down? All right, nothing heard. Well, thanks again. Appreciate everybody who checked in and shared with us here tonight. And big thanks to Joe for making the 985 repeater available for us to do the workbench. And as you all know, I think you're very welcome to use a repeater often, not just at net times, but any time. And it is a great way to show that we appreciate the time and everything that Joe pours into keeping 985 working well. So we do appreciate it. Do use it often. And remember, Thursday night at 8 p.m. is the round table. Hope you can join us for that. So this concludes the workbench for tonight. And even now, you can feel free to stick around and keep talking and have some good discussion here. So have a good night and a great week ahead. 73, this is AF3Z Clear.